Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Gungans and droids across the galaxy. Thank you guys so much for stopping by today. And we got a big video today. It's time to rank all of the best teams in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, but I'm gonna do you one better. This video is going to be, for the first time, ranking all of the teams and leaders in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes for August 2020. That is right, we are ranking every single team in its generality as well as every single leader that is in Galaxy of Heroes. So you know what that means? That means we got a lot of stuff to do. So let me go just hop right over to the graphic. I want to give a huge shout out to all of you guys. Last time we ranked just all the best teams, we got 5,000 likes on that video, so I'm hoping this is going to be helpful. There's going to be a link down below to my graphic writer, and I also made a spreadsheet. If you're more of a spreadsheet like the Command F, Control F to find certain teams, this is going to be also in the links down below. And I want to give a big thank you to my Kyber Club VIP Plus members on the channel, our Platinum members. We had a private live stream and they helped me rank all these leaders in general. I got their input in here, so you're seeing a lot of input being put into this. And if you want to join the membership program here, click on the join button and get some juicy Kyber crystals and other benefits for being on the channel membership program. Now, before we start going in depth on this little table right here, two quick things to point out with this list. Firstly, this is looking at Galaxy of Heroes from a macro level view, meaning we're looking at a high level perspective of the teams in general in Galaxy of Heroes. But obviously, if you look on more of a micro level, there are going to be dozens and dozens and dozens of variants for certain teams. Like Jedi Knight Revan, there you can literally make 50 to 60 plus team compositions, or even more than that. So point being, this isn't going over every single little tiny nitpick and variation of a team. It's looking at these factions and teams and leaders from a general perspective. And secondly, with that, we're mainly focusing on Grand Arena, Squad Arena, and Territory Wars with this list right here. But some of these teams just inherently are great in all game modes. And one more thing to point out, this is really looking at end game. A lot of these teams might be more viable or less viable if you're a beginner, mid-game player, but everyone at the end of the day is chasing towards the end game. And I want to make sure you know how good a team is for their long-term longevity and viability in this game. Trash tier, holy cow. Since we're ranking every single leader, I looked at all these leaders and I can almost make an argument for most of these teams and leaders out there, you can at least do something minor with them at the bare minimum. These three right here, Princess Leia Elite, and Eve Koth, trash, beyond trash. Have you looked at Princess Leia leadership? Critical chance mods give more than what her leadership offers. Not much needs to be said about the trash tier. And then we have the wild card. We've always had this before. When you build teams, there are some key characters that can be used in any type of lineups. Wat Tambor, Thrawn, Han Solo, Darth Malak, Darth Naz, Captain Rex, just to name a few. So when you're building a team and you have some room and you want to maybe bump them up a little bit, these characters can work in a variety of teams out there. So let's start talking about the actual more serious teams here. Trash teams, they're not even worth more than 40 seconds of my time here. And we start off with the Carbonite, and I still don't want to put too much time into this tier. This tier, really, with all these leaders right here, like Lobot, Farm Boy, Luke, Plo Koon, Commander Cody, Gar Saxon, you're not going to really get too much out of these teams. Yes, you can form a team per se that might be able to do something very minor, but really, these are teams you generally are not going to want to build up, put too much effort in. These are probably going to be garbage teams you throw in a back wall defense in Grand Arena if you're too scared of putting a better team back there. But with that said, we can go to Bronzium, where Bronzium, you're going to get more viability and more use out of the various teams here. And there's a lot of stuff in here that can be captured, and we're going to try to explain at least a couple of them here. Probably the best Bronzium team that you're going to find in here is Imperial Troopers. When I had my private live streams with my channel members the other day, I really wanted to put them in Chromium, but I was kind of held back and kind of kept them in Bronzium because they are more of a very niche offensive team that can beat some things in Chromium as well as the Erodium tier, and that's where the Bronzium comes in handy. A lot of these teams, of course, they can beat things within their bracket and below, but some of these teams can punch up at least into the Chromium tier right here. And Imperial Troopers are fantastic examples of something that beats very high level bounty hunters, Night Sisters, and a couple of other things in between that spectrum. But really, we got to start spending most of our time in what's going to be the top 4 brackets here. This is kind of what the Grand Arena space is looking like. Grand Arena, most of the teams you're going to come across are from one of these top 4 brackets right here. Now, I know one of the main comments I'm going to be getting is Genos in the Chromium tier. They used to be an Erodium team. We knocked them down to Chromium because they're in recent days and months, pretty much every single new character or team that has come to Galaxy has been countering this team hard. Genos, especially at endgame, again, we're looking at endgame, Genos are just not nearly a concern. anywhere. They're still a very important team in terms of Grand Arena. They can do some great things on offense, but they are not as deadly or viable, I should say, as a lot of these more top-tier teams out here. But again, as I said, some of these teams will have more viability in the lower ends of the game, early game, mid game. Genos are still a very difficult team for a lot of early game and beginner players as well. But towards the end game, you start seeing a little bit less viability of them, but that does not mean they're a bad team whatsoever. Chromium is still very good teams here. New to this list is Mon Mothma and the Rebel Fighters. I don't think we can rank her any higher compared to Chromium. All we know right now is she is a solid defensive team that can make Rebel Fighters useful. They're more defensive than Genos, it seems like, but still, they're not going to be a god tier team in Galaxy Viewers. Time will tell. This is mostly initial impressions. It seemed like everyone was on board to put Mon Mothma, Rebel Fighters inside of the Chromium tier. We have Darth Vader. Darth Vader, obviously in recent months, has been kind of on the forefront of our minds and actually an important conversation because he helps free-to-play players and just players in general compete with a lot of top-end teams. And right here, we're going to talk more about other big Darth Vader teams, but if you have a Darth Vader with no Wat Tambor, you can put together a lot of interesting Empire damage over time teams. Sidious, you could Wampa, you could do Mission and Zalbar, a lot of good things you could do. Vader is definitely a solid Chromium level team in Galaxy Viewers before you start adding the other spices to it. And let's talk about bounty hunters real quick because you're going to see a variety of bounty hunter teams on this list. Every single bounty hunter lead is on here, but bounty hunters, when you start adding things like Greef Karga and Mandalorian, they definitely become a lot better, as we're going to see. But the one thing I do want to point out here is that you're going to see Mandalorian and Greef Karga in Chromium. They are not going to be as powerful, I think, as a boss lead or Jango lead with Mando and Greef Karga. You're going to see in the Erodium tier, we have a whole different bounty hunter team that's going to be up there. But as you see, all of our bounty hunters are here. And if you have a Jango or boss team without Greef Karga, Mandalorian, they're going to be in that Chromium tier. Let's talk about the Erodium tier because this is where you're going to be seeing a lot of powerhouse teams. This is where I kind of argue is where the territory war meta is. The territory war meta is very much so these top three brackets right here. And that's why Grand Arena is kind of my favorite because Grand Arena kind of branches out into more of these tiers here, whereas Squad Arena is very narrow, territory wars is a little bit wider, but Grand Arena is much wider. And this is where you start getting the juicy teams that you guys love to see. For example, Vader and Wat Tambor and Thrawn has been an iconic trio to take on Galactic Legends. The reason why we ranked them in Erodium because they are not a great defensive team. The AI has no idea how to handle that team, but in the hands of the right person who knows the strategy, these teams right here can really just take down almost any team out there in the game. Thrawn lead, for example, as I showed, a full Empire with the help of Wat Tambor can take out Rey and get you 60 banners. Some people might not use full Empire, and that's what the gold circles mean. You can kind of plug in whatever else you want that kind of fits the theme. Some people do Traya, Basilisk Shan Fallen, Palpatine and Vader, what used to be a Chromium tier, we bumped them up a little bit. Palpatine and Vader is definitely a much deadlier combo than it was in the past because the merciless massacre that Vader got, and Jedi Knight Luke Skywalker. So Jedi Knight Luke Skywalker has a far superior team in the Kyber tier, which you may have already seen at this point, but Jedi Knight Luke, if you want to have him lead Jedi, his leadership is definitely an Erodium level team. It's not God tier, it's not Kyber, it's actually pretty easy to counter Jedi Knight Luke with the help of Darth Vader and Palpatine and maybe a Thrawn, for example, or Darth Revan. Pretty easy to counter Jedi Knight Luke, but it's still a solid team, and if you bring in the wrong team, you're going to be in for quite a headache. Bounty Hunters, the big change that happened in the past few months, Greef Karga, Mandalorian being added to Galaxy Viewers, and that really helped the Bounty Hunters punch up and get a lot more viability out of their team. And in my opinion, the three best bounty hunter leads of Greef Karga and Mandalorian are going to be Jango Fett lead, or Bosk lead, or Aura Singh lead. Aura Singh lead, as we've seen, she gets a contract off incredibly quickly, and the whole strategy with this team is to get Mandalorian his disintegration as fast as possible. These three teams right here can beat things like Padme, General Grievous, Darth Revan. All these other teams should be pretty straightforward, which leads us into our Kyber and Galactic Legends tier. These are the most difficult and staple teams for any of the PvP game modes inside of Galaxy Heroes. General Anakin Skywalker, 501st, Darth Revan with Malik. If you don't have Malik, you have an Erodium tier level Sith Empire team. General Grievous has so many different varieties. I only listed a few here. Lots of Jedi Knight Revan variants, as I said. There's dozens and dozens of them. I'm only listing a few that are the most popular that are circulating around in the game right now, with one of them being, for example, Jedi Knight Luke with Jedi Knight Revan. As I said, Jedi Knight Luke lead, not the best lead in the game, but if you want the best use out of Jedi Knight Luke, Nuke if you have him. Jedi Knight Revan seems to be the best way to utilize this character. What's new to this list here, CLS without the use of 3POC, 3PO, and Chewie is an Erodium level team. But if you have Han Solo, Chewbacca, C-3PO, and 3POC, you have the best Rebel team in the game. And this team can basically be every single team inside of the Kyber branch here. And they can definitely help you at least clean up some Galactic Legends. And then we got the Galactic Legends. Whether you like them or not, these are the shining gems of Galaxy of Heroes. These are the gods of Galaxy Heroes. Kyber just could not really summarize what it is to be a Galactic Legends, because these guys are in a whole breed of their own. Firstly, Rey and Kylo open up so much potential to create a lot of teams. That there are so many Rey teams you can build, so many Kylo teams you can build, and furthermore, these characters are so powerful that you need a whole army to take them down sometimes. Rey, with just the Jawa, can take out a General Anakin Skywalker team. We know Kylo Ren can solo lots of teams out there. So when you see these teams in a Grand Arena or Territory Wars, you got to really plan around them. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be all your squads and leaders ranked in Star Wars Galaxy Heroes from best to worst for August 2020. I hope this is a helpful video for you guys out there, especially for the newer players who are coming in and they want to know in general, how viable is a Grand Moff Tarkin lead? How viable is Commander Luke Skywalker, General Anakin Skywalker? Because you want to build up teams that are going to stand the test of time and that are going to be viable for as long as possible in Galaxy Heroes. Because let me tell you, there are so many teams out there. Although we looked at the game from a macro level view, there are so many teams in between that you can create, and hopefully this list will give you an idea of just the sheer amount of teams there are in Galaxy of Heroes that you can create, and hopefully this helps you kind of better your roster for Grand Arena, Territory Wars, as well as Squad Arena, so long as you don't need a Galactic Legend. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like if you did enjoy this video, comment down below on all your beautiful thoughts. Maybe we got a little bit of debate with some of the placements of these leaders and teams in the game. As always, your guys' input always helps me make these tables even better than ever before. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Larry, Gary, someone do me the honors and roll out the outro. Bam, baby. Let's go. Come on. Gary, are you going to roll the intro?